Dr. Furt, clinical psychologist, and BunnyTherapy. Check out the channel, like and subscribe. Today we're talking about pregnancy, the anxiety that goes with it, the tragedy that goes with it, the happiness that goes with it, the secret thoughts. There's a lot to unpack there. I'll try and keep it very concise based upon my experience with clients that go through this process. And one of the first things I've noticed is that there's an industry around pregnancy. There's a whole medical situation where people have to go through different hoops and pay for it and all that. But keep in mind that if you look at the evidence suggests that humans, as in terms of just the animal part, and animals have babies too. We've been doing it for 200,000 years, and there was no YouTube, there was no OBGYN, there was no hospital or anything like that. It's all just passed down through wisdom and just the body adapting to our modern state of people that reproduce and have babies, and it's all natural. You don't have to complicate these things, but people do, and I think it's largely due to anxiety. The first bit of anxiety is like, do you have a baby? Because there's societal pressure to have a baby. Some people have the inherent desire to have a baby, but what if you're single? Do you go on your own? What age can you have birth? And I got to tell you that the conventional wisdom out there is not the experience that I've had. I've had people having babies well into their 40s, perhaps 50s. I've known people who have gone alone by themselves and decided, you know what? I'm tired of dating, I just want a baby, and they're delighted with their lives. So the decision to have a baby is the whole thing unto itself. But you're going to need support. You're going to need support from your physician. You're going to need support from family. You're going to need support from friends. You're going to need support from the community. You're going to need support from your partner. But whatever form of support's available to you, you should check it out. Here in this particular area of Tokyo, there's a ton of support because the medical system's different here, and they're actually trying to incentivize people to have children. And there are places here that have free health care, not health care, but daycare for children, and it's quite lovely, and it's safe and nice, and it's free, depending on the neighborhood in Tokyo. But it's a roller coaster. Now, there's a lot of excitement around having a baby if you decide to go that way. There's also a lot of anxiety, especially if you're a man and this is unexpected. Then we kind of leave the men out of the equation because they're not doing the heavy lifting, obviously. But if you happen to have a sperm donating man involved in the picture, their experience can vary quite widely, from excited to scared, but there's a lot of anxiety. We're going to talk mostly about the women, the fertility issue. Like, do I go on drugs to have a baby? Do I get a sperm donor? I've known people that have done both, and the medical route to get pregnant can be really fraught with all sorts of anxiety and cost and anxiety and nervousness. The sperm donors, the people that have received that, seem to be quite pleased with what they've come across. And when it comes to the first pregnancy, when you're a young person, nobody really told me when I was going through something like this, that it's normal or expected or frequent for the very first pregnancy to not turn out past the first month. And a lot of times people don't even know they're pregnant, but even if they find out they're pregnant and they start, the anxiety of doing the pregnancy test and all that, there's a reason why you don't talk about it until after the first trimester, after the first 30 days, because it's an unknown factor what the turnout will be. There's a lot of people that go through a lot of this process of deciding you have a baby, you want a baby. Your mind and your whole world sort of changes around the future, and you imagine this future that doesn't exist yet because you're just pregnant. And if it doesn't turn out that way, it can be a really big mental process to unpack all that and cope with it, and then choose what you do next. But let's say you do your fertility drugs, you have a surprise pregnancy, you get a sperm donor, you survive the anxieties around having that baby and what it's going to look like. And a lot of people, this is true of money in general, and this is something I'd like to highlight, is that a lot of people worry about being able to pay for it, but you just get through it. And just imagine what it was like 150,000 years ago, when there was no Tupperware, there was no steel, there was no anything really other than rocks and wood and mud and stuff like that. You just make it happen. You get through grad school and you make it happen. Babies are tough. They're gonna last, and they're gonna look at you, and they're gonna pick up on your anxiety and all that. So it's important to be centered and realize that what's important is life, and we're gonna get all through this one way or another. Sure, there's wars and cancer and all that, but apart from that, we have the resources and ability to cope with pregnancy and child birth and raising a child. Like the process of giving childbirth itself. I had a client whose wife, they got through all of the pregnancy. They had photos of the child at 5 cells. Can you imagine that you can see your baby at 5 cells? And the mother almost passed away during complications during pregnancy. She survived. And the father was just delighted, got them all home, and that baby decided it liked the mother, and even though he would do anything for that child just simply was like, "You're not the mama." You ever see that Monsters TV show, or no, Dinosaurs TV show? The baby refers to the mama as the mama, and the father is not the mama. And anyway, moving on, so there's the support that you need that you can get wherever it is, from institutions, from the government, from your medications, to your medical providers, to your partner, to the family, to your friends. Anything helps. Churches, whatever it is. There's resources out there to be taken advantage of, and you should, because you don't want to go alone with it. And pregnancy can be a very, very lonely experience. We know that. Well, we know that, but we don't really talk about it very much. And it's frustrating because once you get pregnant, like if you look up stuff, there's this proverbial, each pregnancy is different. So you want to know, is this normal? Oh, each pregnancy is different. I had one client who wound up vomiting every day for 9 months. Other people, it's like they weren't even pregnant. They barely noticed it, and they enjoyed the ride. What happens when the baby's born? I had one client whose baby would cry from the moment it woke up to the moment it went to bed for years, and that's a tough road to haul. But she loved that child, and she didn't mind, And that's another thing, like changing diapers. I guess if it's your baby, it doesn't smell bad. But there's frustrations along the way with getting information and getting support. I've seen a lot of positive responses from people who are on online groups and people going through the same kind of thing. The idea of having a baby goes through many different things, like whether or not there's a spontaneous miscarriage. I've had clients who have had, spontaneous miscarriage is a tragedy all by itself, because there's this whole loss. A loss not only of the child, a loss of the future, and a loss of direction of what to do and where to go. But I've had other clients who were 6 months along, went to a doctor's office, and they said, you need an emergency procedure right now to end the pregnancy. Yeah, which was just crushing and all that. I had another client who always wanted to have a baby, got a little bit older, found a man, and suddenly got pregnant by mistake, past 40. And she freaked out, and she had an abortion, and she was alone with that, and she was just tearing herself up inside, and what a disappointment, and she had killed something. And I had to remind her that there's no guarantee that baby would be born. There's no guarantee that baby will be born and not be healthy. There's no guarantee that any of us are going to survive today. There's just no guarantees. Having said that, in both of those cases, they wound up getting back on their feet, getting pregnant again, and having children, and they enjoyed it. Whether or not it's good luck or bad luck, it's a journey. It's a roller coaster. I can't say that enough. And you know what? I don't want to focus in on just all of the things that are upsetting. Some people have had easy breezy pregnancies, getting pregnant, being pregnant, had support, and they're happy. That's on the table too. Happiness is on the table, even if there's noxious events and adversity. All of that's on the table. Now, after you have a baby, there's the whole situation of postpartum depression, and part of that, aside from the depression, and the depression's a whole nother ball of wax, and I've been avoiding doing a video on depression because it's a complicated subject, but it does pass, and the happiness comes along, and the happiness changes and passes moment to moment. And a lot of people have like these secret thoughts because there's social pressure and you should have a baby. Oh, are you happy? And aren't you delighted? And a lot of times they're in pain after they give birth. They're depressed. Their hormones change. They go through. There's a process that they go through, and they're tired because babies require a lot of attention. And people worry about the simplest things like feeding and all that are just natural, but people get really twisted up about that stuff. And the baby's fine. Or what if the baby only wants to eat macaroni and cheese for the first 3 years, and you're freaking out because you think the government's going to come after you because this child won't eat anything other than this stuff. But just wait it out. It should be fine. Now, of course, check your medical advice, listen to your physician, blah, blah, blah. And I don't mean blah, blah, blah. I always say that, but I've got to add that in there because it's not within the scope of my license to tell you on how to proceed with your pregnancy other than the emotional side and the behavioral side. But people have all of these secret thoughts. Like, I think it's normal for people sometimes to have murderous thoughts about their partner. It's natural to have murderous thoughts like, oh my God, what did I do? I don't like being a mother. I don't really like this baby. like, but you're not supposed to talk about all that, but it's there, and you need support, and hopefully you're able to talk about it with somebody. And I hope this video, if anybody's watching it, can reflect on the fact that these feelings change, they come and go, and there's hope. And these children, if you do it right and you provide consistency and rules and upbringing with allowable flexibility, they're the best company to have in life. And sometimes they can take care of you, and they're fun when they're born, because especially the first year, there's this different reflexes they have. Look up the Moro reflex. It's really interesting. Drop the baby and see how they naturally try and reach out for something, even though they're just like days old. Now, what I would like to do is end with a metaphor from a poem that was written between 800 and 900 years ago. And it's a mindfulness poem, but it's supposed to be about, the thoughts and feelings that come in and out of your head from this Middle Eastern tradition of the guest house, where you treat guests, who are weary and traveling, and they show up at your door, and they rely on the humanity of the people they visit to take them into the guest house and treat them well and make sure that they're safe for the evening and all that. It's a lovely tradition in the Middle Eastern world. But I think this applies as a metaphor to pregnancy as well. So let me just recite it real quick. This is by Rumi, an arguably ancient Muslim from, I think it's called the Sufi tradition. They're very peaceful meditation. The whirling dervishes are quite interesting. Rumi's son founded that, and he was a wonderful poet. And here comes the guest house. The guest house. So imagine this being your pregnancy. Imagine this being your thoughts and feelings. That I'll start. This being human is a guest house. Being human is a guest house. Every morning, a new arrival. A joy, a depression, a meanness. Some momentary awareness comes as an unexpected visitor. Welcome and entertain them all, even if they're a crowd of sorrows who violently sweep your house empty of its furniture. Still, treat each guest honorably. He may be clearing you out for a new delight. The dark thought, the shame, the malice. Meet them all at the door laughing and welcome them in. Invite them in and be grateful for whatever comes, because each has been sent as a guide from beyond. So we want to take that openness to our experiences, to the pregnancy. Please like and subscribe to this channel. I don't think a lot of people spend time talking about pregnancy and the secrets and the thoughts that go behind it. I'm also I just opened up a Patreon page now. So for $1, you can become a supporting member. For $20, you can get exclusive content. And for $50, you can have personal interactions with me, questions. Could be video, could be email, about you or your loved ones or your situation. And hopefully we can get you in the right place. But having said that, if you have any comments or if I've left out anything, please let me know. Otherwise, I'm Dr. Furr, clinical psychologist, and this has been the Bunny Therapy.